The attitude of your heart is everything for you to receive from God. Before you can receive from God as a Christian, you need to inspect your heart and position it in order for you to receive. Coming to God, to church, to his house must be what? A special mystery that has to be unfolded before you. The day when we understand that coming to church is not an ordinary thing, we will begin to hear from God all the time we come to church. We will not come into his presence and return home empty-handed. Many Christians, every Sunday they go to church, but when they return, nothing has changed in their lives, in their hearts, in their minds. Instead, they become more carnal, because going to church becomes what? A routine. Until you're going to church become a special occasion, a mystery that you'll want to understand, you cannot hear from God. How deep are you willing to listen to God, to hear from God, to reach down and arrest relationship with him? Those are the credentials of Christians who receive from above. What are the credentials of a Christian who receive from above? Willing to go deeper, to arrest what? Relationship. Because every day God has something to say in a different order. The way that he spoke yesterday and the way that he will speak today will be different in event, in execution, and even in order. The children of Israel, they failed to remain in the presence of God because they tried to put him in a pattern. They wanted to define God based on what he said yesterday, based on what he did yesterday. Hence, every time when he appeared before them, they saw him as an enemy. Jesus was never accepted by those who observed his coming the most. Tell your neighbor, Jesus was never accepted by those who observed his coming the most. They rejected him when he came, because the manner in which he revealed himself to them in Egypt, in the desert, he appeared differently in the future. They wanted to see what? The cloud. They wanted him to ask them to sacrifice lambs and bulls, as he did before they met him when he came through the Spirit and through grace. You cannot hear from God until you have removed the clutter of religion and culture out of your heart. Tell your neighbor, you cannot hear from God until you have removed all the clutter of religion and culture. The instant a Christian look beyond what they know to find God, they will meet him. We are limited by knowledge, culture, tradition. Even the things that are meant to be spiritual, they've been put what? In a cage of culture. You are a cultural Christian. Hence the Spirit of God cannot reach your heart. You are what? A traditional Christian. Accurately, you quote his word, you talk about him, you know scriptures of the verse, Revelation, back to Genesis, but you are not synchronized to his order. You are not synchronized to what? The heartbeat of God. Because you are regulated by cultural Christianity. The day when we put God in a circle of operation, he leaves our premises. He leaves the place because every day he's saying a new thing in a different order. Hence, Christians must empty their heart every day to meet God. Yeah? Christians must do what? They need to empty that which they know, that which they have received, to meet Jesus. You are too full to be filled. You need to empty yourself to meet God's Spirit. The instant a Christian stops being hungry for God, you must know that the Spirit of God is no longer in the place. The moment when hunger for Jesus prevails is to tell you that we are in a place that God has appointed for us. But when we stop being hungry for God, we are dying inside. Every Sunday, we approach God with great hunger. Then we grow. But when going to church becomes a normal thing, it tells you something is dying within us. When we reach a stage when we are content in our relationship, in our setting of Him, what is the sign? We are dying. From the day you came out of the womb, you've been breathing oxygen. You've been taking oxygen in, but you are still not satisfied. Hence, you are still alive and moving in the length of the living. The day when your body becomes satisfied with the intake of oxygen, death enters. In the same way, listen, you can shake a dead person, put water on them. If their body decides to stop taking oxygen, the end has come. In the same way, how hungry are you for God? When you are hungry for God, you keep your focus to be sure that you don't miss what He wants to do about your life. Seeking God for yourself alone is the greatest commitment that one can take under the sun. The problem with Christians of my generation, we seek God for our neighbor. We seek God to impact our neighbor. Hence, we are still not filled. But when we seek God for ourselves, it will impact our neighbor without us focusing. How great is your hunger this morning? That's my question. Ask your neighbor, how great is your hunger for God this morning? The depth of your hunger for God will determine the extent in which he will manifest himself to you. The depth of what? Your hunger will determine what? The depth of your seeking of him. The depth of your seeking of him will determine what? The extent in which he will manifest himself. How great is your hunger this morning? Coming to the house of God without being hungry for God, it is what? A spiritual crime. We become traditional Christians. We talk about him in the letter. We agree with him in the letter. But in practice, we deny him. It's easy to be a traditional Christian, but to be a spiritual one, it requires the effort of the Spirit. Everyone can be a Christian by the letter. Not everyone can be a Christian by divine order. What do I talk about when I say divine order? By the intimation of his Spirit. Every Christian can testify about God, but God cannot testify about every Christian. He testified about Job because Job was forever washed in his position that God had appointed. Are you sure God can testify about you? That this is my son, I'm well pleased with him. There's no one like him in this community. Can God testify like that? Ask your neighbor. Have a conversation. Are you sure that Jesus of Nazareth, the Son of the living God, can testify about you? God testified about Job not because of how many times he shouted his name, but because of the content of his character. He testified about Job because what Job carried in the spirit was not artificial salvation. He testified about Job because what Job carried was the greater love. It takes us to the passage in scripture, Matthew 22 verse 36. It reads as follows: Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and the greatest commandment. It brings me to the title of the message: the greater love. Any Christian that seems to be seeking for God without first having dug deep to arrest true love, substance of relationship, cannot walk with God in genuineness. It means your salvation as a believer will continue to look like a real thing, but it cannot breathe. Most of us, what we claim to be having with God, it looked like salvation. It sounds like salvation, but it is artificial. Job possessed what many Christians have failed to capture total love for God, greater love for God. What does it mean to love God in this fashion? It means you love God with all of your strength, with all of your mind, and with all of your spirit. This become what? Greater love. Job took everything that he had within him. He gave it to God. Hence, when all was taken, he still had what? The strength to stand. Because Job possessed a muscle that many Christians do not possess. Job demonstrated the strength that even Adam did not possess. God said to me this morning, the difference between the first Adam and the second Adam was a positioning of love, sacrificial love, to love God with everything that you possess, with all of your soul, with all of your spirit, with all of your mind. Total love. It is what? Sacrificial. He said to me, when I approached Adam and asked him a question, why are you hiding? Have you eaten the fruit? It's not that I did not know the answer. I knew that Adam had eaten the fruit, and I wanted Adam to own the sin, the mistake of his wife, so that he can be perfect as Christ. But the first Adam had not given his love to me first. Hence, it failed in execution. When I challenged him, I said, what have happened in this place? He took the blame and said, the wife you have given me. What did he mean when he said the wife you have given me? He was saying the punishment should not be for me, but the one after me. But Jesus, as the second Adam, his love was so great that he owned up to the sins of his people, willing to receive punishment, be killed, lose his right to life, because he was perfect in love. He said Jesus was not perfect in love because he started loving men first. He was perfect in love because he took the seed of his love, gave it to me, and he was perfected to love perfectly. Christians, they fail to love God because they have loved themselves first. Salvation is dysfunctional in my generation because mankind have loved their families above God. Said, what they give to their family, to their children, to their spouses is but poison. No man can love until they have loved me and I give them the ability to love. What you are carrying in your heart is meant for God and God first because it's a seed. If you take a seed and cook it, you'll have nothing to multiply with. But if you take the seed, the little love you have, give it to God, He will multiply it back to you, and you'll be able to love your family, to love your wife, to love your children. Why do we fail in love? We have used a seed in the wrong place. We planted that which was meant for God in the lives of natural people, people that are not eternal. Hence our salvation is staggering. If we need to be perfect in execution of salvation, we need to love God first and love God with everything that we have. If we are able to complete this journey of salvation, to lead our families with strength and power, it has to start with God. If it does not start with God, it will not complete the race. Tell your neighbor, if it does not start with God, it will never complete the race. It will not be sufficient because it is drinking from the natural reservoir. When we give God our hearts, His ability to love is given to us. We love without a force. But if you have not loved God first, you have nothing to work with. What you give to your wife, to your husband, is poison. When you look in the secular world, most of the people that are great enemies is people who have once confessed that they love each other. Most of the people that you cannot stand today in your life are the people that you have once pledged your love for them. Why could you not continue? Because you are carrying the shadow of love. Our love becomes perfected when we start with God. The question is, who have you loved greatly in your life? Have a conversation. Have a conversation with your neighbor. Who have you loved first? And who have you loved perfectly? And by what standard is your love executed? Have a conversation. Have a conversation with your neighbor. Are you afraid of your neighbor? Jesus was able to love us because He started with God. If He had not started with God, you would not have anything to give us. Today, you have destroyed your spouse in the name of love which you do not have. Without God, mankind cannot give anything that is without condition. Tell your neighbor, without God, mankind cannot give anything that is without condition. Everything that is within your strength is a transaction. I do this, you do this. That's why you find the husband challenging a woman. I'm working for you, but you don't clean the house, you don't cook. What does this mean? This is not pure love. Love without condition. It means if I work for you, I take care of you. It's a transaction. I am buying what? Your ability to cook and to clean for me. But who is the one that can love without condition? We need to arrest this greater love. When you have arrested this love, you love without reason. You love even the people that have betrayed you. Jesus said, pray for your enemies. Who was He talking to? To Christians that have received love for God. You are too normal to love your enemy. Instead, you pray that they must die. Because you are what? You are carrying a shadow. Those that have received perfected love, they love even people who want to harm them. King David prayed for Saul, who wanted to take take his life. A man came to him and said, I'm the one who took a sword to help Saul to remove his ghost from the body. David said, this man must die. He killed the man that killed the man that wanted him dead. The love of David for Saul was perfect because David carried what? Greater love. He first started with Jesus. A Christian that have loved God first cannot hate, cannot be offended, cannot carry grudge. They have been liberated from the natural order. What are you carrying in your heart? You are too heavy for God to work with you. Some of you have been asking for breakthrough. God is not bringing it. Why? You are carrying the substance of Satan in your heart. Grudge, unforgiveness, envy. Because you did not start with God. What you carry in your chest, tell your neighbor, is a shadow of the real thing. For you to have love, it must be granted from above.